Hi, this is Eric Larson with the Sign Industry Podcast, episode 2, season 1. This is a special episode because we are interviewing the man, the guy, the wonder of Signs of the Times magazine, Mark Kissling. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm great, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, first of all, let's let everybody know who you are. I mean, people read about you and they see all the stuff you read and they see your picture, but how'd you get started into the magazine? Let's start right there.
Sure. Well, I'm currently the editor-in-chief of Signs of the Times, and I have been working for the company that publishes Signs of the Times for quite a while, actually a little more than 30 years.
My God.
For the majority of that time, I was in charge of the company's book division. You might recall perhaps being at an ISA show or another show, seeing a bunch of books stacked up for sale. And usually I was the guy behind there doing that. So I did that for a long time. And then later, in 2016, I transitioned over to Signs of the Times. There was an opening on staff there. Over time, the book business kind of tapered off, and so I was fortunate that I got the opportunity to join Signs of the Times when I did, and then through excellence or people above me leaving, I rose up to the rank of editor, and so now I'm in charge. It's a two-person staff. And we all work out of our homes. I'm coming to you from Cincinnati, Ohio, where I live. So yeah, that's a little bit of the story.
You released this magazine, just you and one other person are the only ones who are editing in chief?
Yes, we only have two
That's a lot of
full-time
work.
editorial people. And it's funny you should mention that because when I started on in the 90s, Signs of the Times back then had an editor-in-chief, managing editor, a CAD editor, a senior editor, associate editor, assistant editor, and editorial assistant.
And a
Wow.
partridge in a pear tree.
Now,
Yeah.
Signs of the Times was also, 240 pages some
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
And now it's not so many, I don't want to say, but not because of anything, editorially. I think it's just the nature of how things have changed. There are less ads, fewer ads, I should say. And that translates to fewer editorial pages too. But fortunately, one of those pages every other month is the Illuminated Signs column by Eric Larson. And
God, who's that guy?
it's one of our more popular and widely read columns. So we're happy to have him as a team.
Well, thanks. I'm surprised when anybody, emails me and says, "Hey, we read your article." I'm like, "Oh, I thought I was just doing that for
Right.
space," but okay, cool. So, yeah, Signs of the Times magazine's been around a very long time. I really remember it back in the early 90s at a sign company I was working at. As a matter of fact, the owner of the sign company would put a stack of Signs of the Times magazines on my desk and say, "Come up with a design. Use some of these as an idea." So I'm like, okay, so
Right.
I was thumbing through all those. How long has Signs of the Times been in publication, do you think?
Signs of the Times was first published in 1906.
Holy cow.
It's been a while.
Quite a while ago. Actually, now we are publishing on the last page of our issue something from the archives,
Oh, yeah.
always from Signs. We started doing this in December of last year, but the look back has a link, signsofthetimes.com/archives, or archive, singular. Sorry, archive, no S. Will take you to the archive that the Cincinnati Public Library has begun. They have completed from the start through about 1922.
Jeepers.
So there are a bunch of over 200 issues already that have been fully scanned, and it's really fun to look through that stuff. And we try to bring that, to our readers once a month on the back page feature.
The Great Sign Library of Alexandria Archive.
All right. Yeah, it is. Well, little known fact about the founding of Signs of the Times. Now, the same company that founded Signs of the Times also founded Billboard magazine. Billboard magazine, very well known, of course, by the music industry, but think about it, Billboard signs.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Was it originally supposed to be just billboards, and then
they just became slightly more popular than time, slightly.
What is the biggest? Here's a question. Yeah, as you know, we're unscripted. It's the way I like to roll with these things.
Sure.
And side note, upcoming episodes of the podcast, we're going to go ahead and we're going to interview different people in the sign industry. None of it's going to be scripted. It's all going to be just off the top of our heads and move along, because it just seems like a more real conversation that way. But we'll get into that in just a minute. What is it since, let's say 2016, even since you came in, what's the biggest change in the sign industry you've noticed?
Possibly 3D printing becoming better, more affordable, and the 3D printed products are able to hold up a little better. But really, it's kind of the thing that you and I have been talking about for years, Eric. It's the challenge of finding employees and marketing the sign industry to young people, attracting and retaining young employees. I don't know if it's because I'm paying more attention to it, but we have been surveying people for a number of years about what they feel is the #1 threat to the sign industry, and growing from something like maybe 15% 4 or 5 years ago to 40% or so in our most recent big survey. Is the threat is the inability to hire, attract, and retain young employees. There's a lot of complaining, of course, about, there are no sign schools, there's no kind of feeder programs out there, and so it's something I've been paying attention to, and it's a problem that only seems to be getting worse, really.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
The market, well, I would assume that the market share of needing signs hasn't really decreased. If anything, it's gone up. So it's just literally you just don't have enough people to make the signs to cover everybody.
That's about it, because you go into the shops that I go into, and most of the guys you see there are, and ladies as well, they're in their 40s and 50s. To see a 20-year-old kid in there anywhere that's extremely rare. It's hard to find them.
Yeah, in the Ask Signs of the Times part of the magazine, not a month goes by where we don't get someone asking, how can I find, especially it's installers. Eric, you wrote a column about that maybe 8 months ago or so. We got a huge amount of response from that. A lot of people read that article. We could tell by the page views. Yeah, if you are a journeywoman sign installer right now, experienced, it seems like you can name your price and work absolutely anywhere you want. Companies are begging these people to stay on as long as they can, possibly, until they can find people, train them, that kind of thing. So it seems like a good line of work to go into if you're young. There's a lot of demand here that you could, presumably move around, take these skills, go wherever you like to live. So I think it's just a matter of the young people knowing about it, as you and I have talked about. It's as much marketing the sign industry to young people, just letting them know it's there, as well as just, of course, then getting them, you know, uh, hired, trained up, and in the workforce.
Right. And that's a big major hurdle that we got to get a hold of. Otherwise, we're going to be in deep trouble. In fact, the article, I think it was that article, in fact, that I wrote that the podcast was born from. Because I had mentioned at the end of the
Right.
the article, hey, maybe we ought to do a podcast. Well, then
Right.
all of a sudden we start getting phone calls. Yeah, let's do one. So, and
Right.
yeah, and it's very cool that Signs of the Times magazine, Smart Media, stepped up. You guys are the major media sponsor. You are the main reason that we're going to get started. And I got to mention one other. I got to mention Van Ladder.
Right.
Van Ladder stepped in and they said, "Hey, yeah, we want to be a part of this as well." So just want to say thank you to you guys and also Van Ladder for stepping in and making this thing happen.
Sure, you're very welcome. Thank you for putting this together. And yeah, it's a great idea born out of an article or a column that really, reached people.
Mm-hmm. So the Sign Expo is coming up, and this actual podcast that we're recording right now will be debuted. I think April 10th during the
during the thing.
yeah, during the Sign Expo.
Right.
Anything that you see that you're looking forward to this year, other than seeing, us guys, in person,
Yeah, well, sure. Of course, I'm
We're
interested in
top
having,
billing.
yeah,
it's
we're
always
we're we're the reason everybody's going to be there. I mean, come on.
right. Yeah, it's always exciting to have something going on at the booth, whether years ago it was selling books and, we draw a lot of people that way, and, having some episodes of the podcast done live and recorded there during the show. That's going to be great. Also, Signs of the Times is going to be celebrating the fourth annual Women in Signs Award in our booth on Thursday, the second day of the show at 4 p.m.
Mm.
So we're looking forward to that. Also, our sister publication, Big Picture, they have an award on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, the Best of Wide Format Award. So we've got some things going on, and so we'll have some action at the booth, the podcast, a couple of awards events, and yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I have not actually been to a Sign Expo since I think it was 2015. It's been a while.
Oh, that's not the one I went to then.
No,
I think the one I went to was like 2008.
Yeah, it was a while ago. That was in Vegas when we did that one.
No, mine was in Orlando.
Oh,
the one we're going to right now.
Anyway, it's one of those. So I'm kind of looking forward to it to see exactly what is changed. The different types of machinery, equipment, availability of different things is out there. As a sign designer myself, I've noticed I've got a lot more things to play with now. So like lighting, I can change lighting quite a bit now from a lot of times neon to now I'm able to do some really cool looking LED strip lighting, but in tighter radiuses and even corners, 90-degree corners.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even including like all the 3D printing you can do as far as structure is concerned. Like you can just make like double helix crazy.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of
all
things.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
now.
there's stuff. I've got some stuff that I'm designing right now that hopefully is going to blow some people's minds because I want to make it look like it's just kind of floating. And I want people to look at it and say, how in the heck is that standing there, And so now with all the equipment that we have and now all the materials that we have, designers such as myself, we're able to get a little bit more crazy. It's not just a typical box on a stick kind of thing anymore. It's a lot of fun. My favorite portion of the sign industry, I would have to say, was probably the retro era back when probably the 50s and 60s when you had the crazy, you'd have an oval here and a square here and stars shooting off from it.
You talk about like diner signs?
Yeah.
Oh, I love diner signs.
Yeah.
So good.
What I mean, you've been around. What's the one thing that you like about the sign industry that's really blows your mind as far as design work? Is it like casino letter or casino signage, stadiums? What is it that you really enjoy looking at?
Yeah, I have to say I like a lot of historic signs. We're very
Oh,
fortunate.
imagine
I'm
that.
fortunate in the I live in Cincinnati where it's the American Sign Museum, which was founded by Todd Swarmstead, whose family was with Signs of the Times. Todd himself was the editor of Signs of the Times for many years and in the family ownership. Um, but the collection that they're putting together is terrific, and I'm really impressed by kind of the technological limits of those eras. So let's say the flex loom plastic formed signs. The you can really see the development and wow, this is how they accomplished this, the even lighting, for example,
Oh
across
yeah.
I think when they were using incandescent bulbs.
Hmm.
So I guess I don't have any one favorite era. But I tend to like the historic stuff, and
I like the historic stuff myself. That's why I do what I
yeah,
do.
that's right.
Matter of fact,
Right in your job title.
that's right. Matter of fact, I have just finished designing my 50th historic field
Oh,
marquee
right.
uh, for
Congratulations.
the Holland
Half
Theater
century.
in Belle Fountain, Ohio. Matter of fact, right now we're going to take a break and we're going to go to our first commercial ever, which is Van Ladder. So stick around for that. And Mark will be right back with you.
The Van Ladder bucket truck simplifies your sign installation and service work. A winner of the ISA's Innovation Award, Chariot Bucket has a rotating fork system with an assortment of super useful accessories, giving you an extra set of hands at the job site. And with 6 different outside compartments and a huge project area inside, the Workport box is a traveling warehouse. No more running for parts. Finally, all-electric Van Ladder operates without the vehicle running, giving you a quiet day's work without stinky fumes. You can check it out at www.vanladder.com.
And we're back. I would like to get more into the thing that really drives home for me, and I cannot get enough people talking about this, is apprenticeship programs and bringing kids into the sign industry. Um, Myself, I didn't go to college
Or a trade school.
or a trade school. I hand lettered my first boat when I was 12 years old. And then a guy, just a simple one man sign shop guy took me under his wing and taught me how to hand letter and how to do all that stuff. And, it just kind of evolved from there. And from there, I went on to other companies and whatnot. And I learned, the fabrication, I learned to install, I learned, maintenance, everything from the bottom up. I learned, and we don't have that these days. We don't have a pool of kids. Well, there's a pool of kids out there. Nobody knows how to get a hold of them. What are your thoughts on apprenticeship programs and how we can get more kids into our industry?
Well, my thought is that apprenticeship programs are valuable. It sounds like you started out essentially as an apprentice, either officially or for all practical purposes, and it was a successful way to bring you into the industry and to introduce you to a bunch of different facets of it, which has helped you to be a better designer, to have familiarity with installation, fabrication, sales, everything. Um, I think apprenticeships or let's say also internships, we'll consider them basically the same thing, that they're valuable. We asked in the 2024 big survey if how many companies offer apprenticeships and or well, has your company ever hired one of your interns or apprentices, and 42% said yes. Only 12% said no, though we've had them. A further 46% said no because we haven't offered them. But, right there, that is approximately 4 out of 5 companies reporting to us that they offer internships or apprenticeships, they have gone on to hire someone. Right. Only 1 in 5 who's offering them has not done that, and maybe that's just yet up to this point. It took a little while. I mean, Signs of the Times isn't in the sign industry, but we work with interns, and I've been working with interns from University of Cincinnati primarily, but other local universities for some time. The current assistant editor of Signs of the Times, Mildred Nguyen, was originally an intern for us in fall of 2021. She was a student at Northern Kentucky University. She was outstanding intern, best intern that we ever had. And I just want to point out also that it's important to be open to the idea of any interns. Anyone can intern. Mildred is a native of Vietnam. She moved to the United States to go to college. English is not her first language. Had I not been open to the idea that, this young person could be a valuable intern and a potential future employee for us, just because English wasn't her first language, I would have been losing out on somebody who's a fantastic hire and a tremendous member of our team. In fact, Mildred knows and writes English better than anyone I can think of, except for me.
And definitely,
yeah,
definitely
she's
better than
fantastic.
one of your article contributors.
All right,
Who
that's right. So,
let's
for the best.
I just think it's worked for us. I see that it's been working for other companies. So what remains to be done there is to convince more companies to begin apprenticeship or internship programs. And the problem here is, it's kind of there's no kind of institutional help with this. It's sort of up to you to join, to band together with your local high school or high schools, or with the vocational college or the community college, or whomever you think might be a source for apprentices. But I wish more sign companies would spend the time to try to look into that, because I think it would pay off for them.
I think you're exactly right. And I think one of the things that I noticed, and I taught an art class for, what was it, 10 years?
At least.
Yeah. At a private school, I taught art. And there were the kids in there that didn't care they were there. They just were wasting time and they were moving on to the next gym class or whatever. You had the kids in there that were just really into it and were good, but they were going to go on to art school. And then you had the kid in the back that would scribble and doodle just all day long on notebooks, but during art class got really into it. Those are the kids that we have to try to find. We just have to figure out a way to do that, because those are the kids that don't necessarily want to go to school, but they have an interest in art. They have some type of capability. And if you bring them into a sign industry or a sign company, you can show them the different, design. You can show them, vinyl cutting. You can show them welding, electrician, all that stuff. They're going to find something that they're going to like. And they're going to say, I like this portion of what you're doing. I would like to learn more about that. That's how we're going to bring them in, not bring some kid off the street and say, mow my lawn and fix the flowers and do this. And, go help so-and-so in the back for 5 minutes, So, yeah. Well,
before we go, if you're trying to go, I want to bring in a perspective from like my generation and younger. All right. Brian's perspective is that while you're talking about some of these trade schools and stuff like that, I did a little browsing on the internet just real quick because I had an idea. I'm like, if you're trying to reach the young crowd, I know that there's a genre, and then it's going to sound weird, but in video games, there's a genre of video games called job simulator games. And these games, literally, for example, farming simulator, construction simulator, cooking simulator, truck driver simulator,
that's something.
Hospital simulator. There's tons of them. Anyway, some of these games sell upwards to 3 to 4 million copies of just a game about driving a truck. And that's literally all it is. The game is literally you get a semi truck, you start in a business, you drive the truck from point A to point B, you deliver the truck, you do everything you would do as a truck driver, back it up, deliver it, file the paperwork.
Wow.
Do the whole thing, drive back to the job site, get another job, the whole 9 yards, fill up your gas tank, all these things are 100% one-to-one simulated in the game. And they have noticed over time, as I wanted to look at the articles to make sure that my theory was correct. And it so far it proved it was. But over time, they've noticed that since these games have come out, for example, just the truck driving one is the biggest one I can gather. Since the game has come out, they've noticed an uptick in truck driver applications.
Oh, there you go.
Just from these kids playing these truck driving video games. And the same thing also correlated to construction games as well, like, building stuff. And I was like, well, if you're going to have something building, then you might as well do something with signage. And I'm like, this is an idea to throw out there, but there is a correlation between those things. And if you can reach 4 million people with a copy of a video game that's kind of based on the sign industry, and if it just gets like 1% of that, that's still 400,000 kids that are true.
That's true.
Man, this is actually kind of fun. I really like doing this. And they sink like 2 billion hours into it, and then they go get a job.
Plus, it's got to be way more fun than just driving a truck.
Yeah, exactly.
Like putting gas in a truck, putting diesel in a truck. I mean, come on.
Frame for a sign.
Yeah, but that's a great idea. I mean, and it's, we need ideas like that because just reaching people, the first point of contact seems to be the highest hurdle.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think the big thing is would be media, and then you need to follow it up with some sort of interactive form of that media. And that's what I think kids these days look to, because you got a lot of kids who are just born and raised on tablets and computers nowadays. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean,
that's true.
I mean, I just look at like some of my little cousins and I'm like, holy crap, I don't understand half of what you're talking about, but they can tell you the whole computer in and out, and they can tell you the whole tablet in and out, and they can tell you every little video game, social media platform, the whole 9 yards.
But they don't know how to mow the lawn.
They don't know how to mow the lawn. I get that, but like some of these things, like I said, I just saw some stats there, and like I said, I don't know if they're real. I just browsed through a couple articles, but the 3 or 4 articles that I did look through, they did say that there was a correlation. So you'd have
something to look into.
You'd have to check the real numbers, but. Just in a brief.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to input.
We're at the 30-minute mark, so we're gonna wrap things up here. And
30 minutes.
Huh? Yeah,
we're at the 30-minute mark.
Well,
30-minute.
No, that's true.
That's a bad joke. Don't laugh at that.
That was really bad.
Oh,
let's save that one for the other podcast.
Yeah, that's bad.
So thanks, Mark, for being our first live guest.
Right. My very great pleasure. Thank you very much.
And the Sign Industry Podcast is going to be available. It's going to have its own YouTube channel. It'll be available on Spotify, Apple, and all the other stuff.
You can watch the video on YouTube, and you can listen to the audio on your Spotify, your Apple Podcasts, all those great podcast places you can listen to it.
Plus, at the Sign Expo, you can come see us live in the Signs of the Times booth. So
right. And we'll also signsofthetimes.com will be another choice for people to get the podcast as well. The idea is to make it widely available, but it will be on signsofthetimes.com as well.
Well, hey, thank you again very much for showing up, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.